Welcome back to Kaulignation, your one-stop shop for all things Kaulig Racing, Dingernation, SVGNation, and all things NASCAR. I'm Sean. Thank you for taking a few minutes out of your Monday to tune in to this Sonoma Cup Series race report. Our multiple choice question for this video is: did you think Sonoma was a good race for the Cup Series? Comment down below in the comment section below and share your thoughts there. Please click the thumbs up button. It takes 2 seconds. It's free to do so. It greatly helps the channel. Leave a comment. Turn your notifications to all so you get updated on all of our videos that come out, and be sure to share the video around and subscribe. Don't forget, we have a new podcast launching, the Kaulig and Trackhouse Nation podcast, exclusively available over on Patreon, where you will get in-depth analysis on all five drivers week in, week out for the Kaulig and Trackhouse teams, as well as other NASCAR topics. You can support the channel over on Patreon later this week, as well as exclusive bonus videos. Big thank you to our channel sponsors: Lynn over at SVG Nation on Facebook, Alex over on Dingernation at Facebook. Check those groups out. All right, let's dive into this. Sonoma has come and gone. I love that track. It's a very different style of road course track. Um, for example, you go to a place like Coda. Mexico was new, so nobody really had any data on it. But still, that track, applies the same. Same with the Roval. There are a ton of passing zones. You go to Sonoma, and there really isn't. Um, Sonoma has three primary passing zones, and the rest is all about setting your car up to get ready for those passing zones. It's a different skill set. We here at the channel, Ryan and myself, both thought SVG would have a little harder of a time at Sonoma, and we will always, always, always wear what we say on our sleeves. But to back us up a little bit, so did Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. said, and I quote, SVG won't have near the advantage that he did at Mexico because it's a new track, and at Chicago because it's a street course, uh, at Sonoma. Why? Because the teams have been racing there for decades. There's information that they've had for so long. Drivers are far more used to that circuit. And guess what? Ryan, myself, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and others were dead wrong. And we'll explain why we were wrong. We will explain just where on that track SVG was dominating the field, because for most of the track, he wasn't all that far ahead of the other cars. But there's a part of that track where he wasn't just beating them, he was annihilating the entire field. And we will come to that, but got back to that very shortly. First, I want to turn our attention to the Kaulig guys. Look, hats off to Ty Dillon, who was able to bump and rub Alex Bowman at the end, and he advances in the bracket challenge. Again, he's moving on to the final four. I've heard people complain about the bracket challenge. To me, if you're going to create an NHRA style, an NHRA meaning the National Hot Rod Association drag racing, an NHRA style bracket in the regular season of NASCAR, and you start to get NHRA style results, you got nothing to whine, moan, or complain about. And yet I've seen people complaining. Hats off to Ty Dillon, who was the last seat, number 32, coming into this bracket challenge. And he is in the final four. Congrats to him. AJ Allmendinger, boy, this might have been the most disappointing weekend as an AJ and a Kaulig fan. He had the pace in practice. He was better than everybody in practice on 5 lap average. I question whether they ran enough laps in practice, though. SVG ran over 10 laps, so he had a 10 lap average. AJ only ran 9. Uh, you know, there's no real rhyme or reason to get into what the car lacked because we don't know. The information isn't available. There was long discussions about a loose wheel on the car, which would definitely line up with Coda. Stage one, he was okay. They had no drive off of 11, and when you have no drive off of 11, you kill your one and two. And if you're losing your one and two, you're just not passing cars at that track. And he tried to make up for it a bit. He might have had a seventh or eighth place car, which clearly isn't what we thought we had going into the weekend. Um, and he spun out, and he spent the rest of stage two struggling with whatever that loose wheel or mechanical issue was, and really couldn't gain ground. In stage three, after they pit, he drove all the way from 30th up to 15th and looked like he was going to continue to gain ground, but they chose to come in and put tires on during a late caution when others stayed out, and then they got collected up in one of the wrecks and then had to navigate through other wrecks. And honestly, nothing short of a disastrous weekend for Kaulig Racing, AJ Allmendinger, Trent Owens, who just seemed to be completely lost on the pit box this weekend. It's probably not going to, win us any points with the Kaulig Racing guys, but we're here to speak our mind. We're not paid by Kaulig. It's time for a crew chief change over there. I get it between Mike and Trent and Andrew. They have three guys with engineering backgrounds, which means they can save money on spending, or save by not spending money on more engineers. But to me, it's time for a change. You absolutely need to switch things up. Put Andrew with AJ, put Trent with Ty, and go from there. But I don't think they will. Back to SVG. All right, so he dominates. When you lead something like 90 of 110 laps at Sonoma, you didn't just beat the field, you killed the field. And SVG on restarts at Chicago, nobody was able to stay door to door with him through turn one. By the time they reached turn one, he was 1 to 3 car lengths ahead of everybody. Now, here at this track, at Sonoma, the same thing was happening. Wasn't right away like at Chicago, but going so from the start finish line through the exit of two. Okay, remember that through the start finish line, through the exit of turn two, all that uphill area. Okay, the rest of the track, there were guys that were right there with SVG. If you looked at AJ's times, he was about a tenth off the rest of the track. He was also running P2 lap times while racing his way back through the field. But SVG, that start finish line through the exit of turn two, he's 2.5 tenths to half a second faster than the entire field, which is insane. It's maddening. There are other areas of the track where some of the guys were quicker than SVG. But it doesn't matter because if you're 2.5 to 5 tenths faster in that area of the track, and you're still towards the top, if not the top in other areas of the track, you're not catching him. That is some lethal stuff. If you listened during practice, they talked about how SVG refuses to give information during practice over the radio because he doesn't want to give away trade secrets, because other people can listen in on your radio feed, which I totally get and understand. He has figured something out. Lynn from SVGNation mentioned how high his racing IQ is. And when I say figured something out, I'm not saying he's cheating. I'm saying the dude's one smart mother Canucker. And when you're 2.5 to 5 tenths faster than everyone else from the start finish line through the exit of two, you're going to dominate just like he did. And on restart specifically, because he never shook the tires on a restart, he never spun the tires on a restart. His restarts were all good. You just couldn't hang with him. And if you can't take advantage of a restart, there's not much you're going to be able to do against SVG when he's running that good. 2.5 to 5 tenths quicker through that area of the track is unheard of in NASCAR. And the interesting thing is people go, well, it's his braking style. It's his heel toe braking style. And it's like, no, because that area of the track, you're really not using any brake at all. And so he has figured something else out. What a incredible performance. And I can truthfully say, you know, I understood the skepticism that we had when talking about Chicago and Mexico. One's a new track, one's a street course, which SVG is the best. But when SVG goes out there and dominates a classic track like Sonoma, dominates it more than those other two tracks, in fact, um, there's nothing left to be said. People deserve their flowers when they're due, and there is no doubt in my mind that SVG is the current king of the road courses in NASCAR. There's nothing left to debate about that. Uh, Stay tuned to future videos. We are going to talk about what's happening with 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. NASCAR may be trying to sell their charters on them and force them out of the sport. How does that affect Dodge? How does that affect Trackhouse? How does SVG winning these races affect the Dodge and Trackhouse negotiations? The fact is, it does. Stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to sign up for Patreon later when it launches this week. And we'll see all of you in the next video.